What is going on, YouTube? PPS here. We are back past the prop, back here for week 15 already, NFL season. Finishing up, we're getting to the end. Obviously, a lot closer to the playoffs and stuff like that. Fantasy football playoffs starting this week. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. Joined as always by my guy, Stu. What's good, man?
Yeah, no, everything's good. I mean, I'm just sending out those tweets right now. I don't think we've gone early before our start time in maybe years of doing this show. So hopefully everyone's trickling in right now. We'll obviously give people a second to get on in here. I will just say, I mean, obviously we get up here, we're very transparent about the losses, but it's been going pretty good recently. So obviously super pumped to come here after a sweep on on Wednesday, after a great show on Monday. It's good to have a little bit of momentum coming into the week. So I feel great. I got 2+ money plays today. I'm ready to win some bets.
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously, last football show went 2-0. Had the Saquon and then Jordan Love Waddle play there. So that's our last football show. But, I mean, we ended up just going 4-0 in NBA as well, which was awesome. I don't think I've cashed an easier bet than this one. Trae Young had 10 assists in the first half. Giannis had 64. So, man, I should have just played a long shot. I didn't play any long shots on Wednesday, but I don't think I've had an easier one than that.
Yeah, no, this one was insane. I mean, I had my book was giving me like Trey 11 assists at like plus 140 or something crazy. So I took that as well in addition to the combination. And yeah, Giannis with an insane game that ended with a fun fight afterwards. Always good to get the rivalries flowing here. So yeah, this was a nice and easy plus money cash right here. And it's funny, we talked about alt lines for guys this high, and I mean Giannis just smoked that 30 points.
Yeah, I think his regular line was like 34.5, which obviously was I think hit within 2 minutes of half. So that was obviously pretty good. Wemby, I saw end up with 13 rebounds, something like that. And one of those plays that everybody was on, it all came through. Obviously, like I said on the show, everybody was on the rebounds, but obviously Wemby got some assists in there too.
Yeah, shout out to the Spurs, man. Shout out to the Spurs. It looked like it might be a blowout. Wemby subbed out with like 8 minutes left, and they were down like 14. And it's always that part where you get really worried that the Spurs just aren't going to make a shot for like 4 more minutes and they're going to lose. But luckily, they kept him in the game. Wemby subbed back in, and it was fun, man. And yeah, I already saw quick shout out our guy Joe Delaris on his blocks today. I already tailed that as well because I mean while I was watching that game the whole time I was just thinking, why didn't I bet blocks? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't I add that? Because he was going crazy. So excited to watch Wemby again tonight.
Yeah, and talk about another easy one, man. Julius Randle. I mean, I think he ended up with 46, 45 points, rebounds. Just a wagon, man. This dude's been great to me. Continues to cash tickets. I felt really good that, when we talk on here as many times as we do, when everything kind of goes the way you plan it to, right? We talked about just the mismatch underneath. John Collins didn't play, so I did see Fontenecco, whatever the fuck his name is, did guard Randall for a few possessions. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Obviously, he scored. Ball did not leave his hands once it got down there. And, hey, those are the guys you want to bet on. So shout out Randall. Shout out Utah for keeping it close, too. Really helped get him close to that 38-minute mark again.
Yeah, no, I love betting on Randall. I mean, selfishly, too, as a guy that just I hate when my guy isn't even close. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'd rather get blown out. Like, if I bet on a guy to get 30 points and rebounds and he has like 10, then I don't feel good. I feel terrible. You know what I mean? Randall's always the guy that he's getting you in the ballpark. You know what I mean? Like, you just need the minutes to get there. And the fact that he keeps you so close all the time and he cashed so easily right here, it was beautiful, man. And I grabbed a nice little rebound mini ladder as well. So that was always nice. Definitely shout out to Randall.
Yeah, this one, I know I saw a lot of people on his points. His points got absolutely nuked, man. I think he had like 8 points, but did end up filling up the stat sheet, man.
Yeah, if you're in my Discord, or I mean, if you watch the show, I kind of cautioned on the points. You know, it's not like I didn't like it or anything like that. It was just the plus money on this market specifically I thought was more value. And then a guy like Jaime Jaquez, right, at 13.5, that was such a mistake. Like, that was such a clear bad line right there with how consistently he was going over. So definitely shout out to the Heat doing Heat things, right? Gritty guys, rebounds and assists. Love to bet on it. So yeah, nice and easy 4-0. It really doesn't happen that easily very often. So it's always good to sit back and enjoy, especially a couple plus money spots as well.
For sure. We end up having a huge NFL slate here. We want to talk about, want to get into it. Obviously, bye weeks are done. We have everybody in action. We have 3 Saturday games on NFL Network, which honestly, those are probably some of the best games outside of Dallas and Buffalo on the whole weekend. So I think my favorite game for sure is definitely that first game of the whole Saturday, man. I really like that Vikings game. Versus Cincy. I think that's got to be my choice for the biggest game. Is that where you're looking at too for your favorite one of the weekend?
Well, we'll talk about that for sure. It's up there for me. I'll still kind of default to the Cowboys Bills, because at the end of the day, the playoff implications for the Bills are playing for their lives right now. You know what I mean? Like, their playoff chances are on the line, and I mean, the Cowboys, I think, just want to keep showing the world how good they are. So for me, I think just with how much offense is in play for that one, that's probably going to be my top game. But I completely agree. I'm pumped for that first Saturday game.
Yeah, I want to ask you the question again, because you kind of went around it last time I asked. I got my fantasy matchup this week. 1 seed. I'm in the semis, right? We're heading into the final stuff here. I'm playing against a guy who has Jake Ferguson and who has CeeDee. I have Dak as my quarterback, but I also have Josh Allen. I have both of them sitting there. If you're in my situation, who are you playing?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I think I would play Dak. I really do. Just because the Bills defense, like, the secondary is, even adding Douglas, who's good, like, I think there's not enough there, especially with a guy like Lamb, who I think can beat Douglas even like one-on-one when they get those opportunities. Like, it's brutal. I know benching Josh Allen's tough. Like you mentioned with your league before, I think the difference maker is the lack of rushing upside, right? You're getting the same amount of points for a passing touchdown as a rushing touchdown. So for me, that would be the difference maker, because I pretty much bet Josh Allen rushing touchdown in every high intensity game, and it works. And I think he'll get one in this game, but Dak probably gets like 3-4 passing touchdowns as well.
Yeah, over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Dak is like minus 165 or something like that, which is pretty wild. I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, I might even play that if it gets a little bit lower, but I hope it doesn't. I hope it goes to minus 500 and 2.5 gets to like minus money, because we need some touchdowns this week. Hopefully, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, wake them old legs up. You got to show out this week, right? I have CeeDee in 2 of my other leagues, but guess what? I'm on bye, so we're chilling. You can show out next week. Let's just have a big week here from Dak. Let's see some deep balls. Maybe Tony Pollard maybe can do something in the passing game. Let's just not run this football, dude. Let's just chuck this ball around. Cowboys +2. Are you surprised with that line?
I'm not. I know it, like, they were just 3.5-point favorites closing against the Chiefs. Like, it moved over the 3, even to the 3.5 at times. So that kind of tells you how the market respects the Bills and how much it respects their upside. So I'm not surprised at all. I think it makes sense, especially when you consider just how dire this game is for the Buffalo side, and how, obviously, I don't want to take away, still very important for the Cowboys. They're fighting for the division. They want to buy as much as anyone else, but it would take a couple more things to get there. So I do still support the Bills in that one. So I'm not really too surprised by the line, but it'll be a good one.
Awesome. I do want to touch on a couple games instead of just doing our dog picks. I kind of want to talk about a couple of these. They're just kind of weird. These lines that are kind of weird, right? What are your thoughts on the Panthers being at home 3-point dogs, 33 total? What's your thought on that? Because I haven't seen a 33 total in a while. I think every low total like this is either with the Browns or the Panthers, because their offenses are just absolute dog. So what are we thinking here? Are you? Is this warranted? Is this line warranted? 3 points for this team is crazy. Carolina is probably the worst offense I've ever seen. Unleash Jonathan Mingo, bro. Come on, dude. Let's throw the ball within 3 yards. He'll probably catch it. But my God, dude, this is tough for me here. I'm thinking about this game because it almost makes me want to bet the Panthers. I feel like they should be 6-point dogs to everybody.
I know you mean, but it really doesn't make me want to bet the Panthers when that, like you said, they're the worst offense in football. Like I know what you mean. Logically, this line it seems a little bit off. I know the weather concerns, right, is something I was reading. I know that's a thing across the league. I don't know if that's impacting us here. I did see you can get an $8 ticket to this game, which is absolutely hilarious. And they were like solid tickets as well. So if you're in the area, or even if you're not, you could probably like it would be cheaper for me to buy a flight there and sit there and watch the game than it probably would be to go to a fucking Commanders game at this point, which is pretty ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to trust that offense. Their defense is solid. You know what I mean? Atlanta, I don't know if they score too much, but the real question is like, can the Panthers even score you a dependable like 10 points? I don't know. I don't think the answer to that is necessarily yes. And obviously Bijan, Algier, and I think London can get you enough. Also, Ritter's sneaky playing solid right now. I bet on him last week. He had a good game 2 weeks ago against the Saints. The only bad one was against the Jets in the middle of those two. And it's the Jets. Of course they're going to demolish him. He's not that good. You know what I'm saying? So when you put him in an okay situation, then I don't hate the Falcons at all, to be honest.
Did you have his rushing yards last week, Ritter, or what'd you have?
Yeah.
Rushing.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he was good to me. I was happy with his performance at 5K on DraftKings there. Do want to talk about maybe one or two other games here. I kind of want to touch on this Bears Browns game. We're looking at this spot. I know it's gross. The Bears are playing better, right? Browns are fighting for big time playoff stuff here because the rest of that division is just ass. I mean, 3 points on the road. They're giving the Bears pretty big respect here. I know they're playing better, but how do the Browns just not demolish this offense? Like, I don't know how Fields does anything with this front four of the Browns and just Myles Garrett. Still probably pissed that he's number 2 in MV or in defensive or whatever it is, defensive MVP or whatever it is. Plus 175. I saw Micah Parsons is minus money, dude. Like, I think Myles Garrett just goes crazy on these boys.
Yeah, and this would be a good time to as well, obviously, in a kind of an important game for them, at least. For me, it's just like, this is a real tough one. I lean towards the Bears initially, just because, like you said, the line does feel a little bit off to them. Like I would expect a 4, maybe a 4.5 or something right there. But their defense is going in the right direction. I think that's really the key. Like Joe Flacco has shown some very impressive gameplay these last couple of weeks, which is hilarious. Like something I never would expect to say up on here, but it's been a fact. They've been pretty good. It's just how long do we expect that to hold up? I mean, you've got to expect a little bit of regression at some point. There still have been the turnover-worthy plays as well that have always been there with Flacco. So at the end of the day, like I know the Bears can run the ball. I know they can play a really slow game. And I think that could be enough to at least cover the spread. I feel like this is a field goal game. You know, I don't think the Browns have blowout potential right now. I don't think they can blow anyone out, to be completely honest. So maybe I'm wrong here. Obviously, maybe the last couple weeks are evidence prior to that, but I think the Bears can keep it close.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd probably be on the other side, honestly. I just don't know how they're going to move the ball on this Browns defense. I really don't. Obviously, I understand that DJ Moore's back. He's playing good football. It's just I understand how good this Browns defense is. It's tough for me to want to, go against that in a must win, right? Still a must win for them. Last game I want to touch on. That is going to be the Detroit Lions Denver. If you would have told me about 5-6 weeks ago before this win streak for Broncos that they were only going to be catching 4 in Detroit after Detroit was only 5-1, 6-1. You're going to tell me they're catching 4 weeks, 6 weeks later in Denver's actually fighting for playoffs here. I would have thought you're crazy, man. But we got a good game here in the Dome. Obviously, that's big for Goff. They're 4.5 point favorites here. Pretty much a must win. 48 total. What's your thoughts on this one? Obviously, a game that, like I said, if we look back on it, we would never have thought it'd be at this line at this point in the season.
Yeah, this is one that just missed out on another one of my like favorite games of the week. Like this could easily be that. I talked about it on Sunday night with AC, and it was one where I was really conflicted then, and I'm still kind of conflicted now. But at the beginning of the week, I think I had all that Denver Broncos money in my account, and I think it was smiling at me. So I was smiling back. I was, it's the Broncos. They're making money for me right now. How can I bet against them? The more and more over the course of the week, the deeper we've gotten, I think I am now siding more with the Lions. If you follow on Twitter, my first bets of the week, I bet on both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery rush yards, Gibbs longest rush. I really think the way this goes, when you look at it these last couple weeks, the Broncos like defensive EPA is off the charts, but that's because they're generating an insane amount of turnovers. So they're absolutely crushing teams in the turnover differential. I think that's actually bolstering the stats and making their defense look maybe a little bit better than it is. I think if the Lions can just limit turnovers in this game, I think they can win. And obviously Goff has been a little bit turnover happy recently. So we've seen them have a little bit more of a run heavy attack, even in bad game scripts where they've been somehow trailing to teams like the Bears, right? The rushing game logs have still been good. Now I think this is obviously going to be a closer game. I think the Lions established the run. That's the one area that Denver can't really defend as well. And I think Denver, even though they're probably going to be popular this week, I think they disappoint a lot of people. I think the Lions look a little bit better.
Yeah, am I crazy? I think 48 is crazy high in this game. Like, I think this is going to be a slow game. I think that this is going to be both teams wanting to run the football. The Lions have not. I think that Javonte is still going to get 20 carries in this spot, dude. I love Javonte this week. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I love Javonte always, but I've seen enough from this Denver defense in how the Lions want to play, right? They want to play downhill. They want to just run that ball, and that's the best way to do it on these guys. So short passes to Amon-Ra, short passes to Laporta, and then just running the ball down their throat. I just think I don't know. I don't know if I see 48 points. I feel like that's a little bit high. And we talked about it in the last Denver game where it was given like 44, and that shit was way under. So it's like, I don't know. Denver just kind of feels like more of like an under team because they're just like they're willing to run the ball as much as they want. Like they're not going to go away from that.
No, I mean, I've ranted about this twice. Last week I was saying I don't understand why this Chargers-Broncos total is so fucking high. And it kept moving against me. And I feel the same way with you right here. Even though it may be a little bit of an upgrade on the other side, it's still like at the end of the day, the Lions offense is better than the Chargers was last week. But like you said, it's about play style. It's about pace. And I don't see this as a pace-up matchup. I think for me, the game breaker here is that the Lions do play a lot of like man coverage, a lot of single high safety coverage. Russell Wilson is like dink and dunk and then bomb. Like there's one bomb a drive, and that's all we're going for. If we don't get that, we're back to dink and dunk. If he's high efficiency on those passes, if he can convert a couple of those to the Marvin Mims in single coverage, to the Cortland Sutton, who's seemingly bringing down any pass in his area, then you have a ball game. That's what threatens the over, in my opinion. It's just how much do you trust these, Denver wide receivers in one-on-one situations, because they do have an advantage. The secondary of the Lions isn't good. So that was kind of my one thought on why the over could be in play. It's just, is Russ efficient on these downfield opportunities? Because there's not going to be a lot, but there will be a couple.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Lions, why don't you just put that safety towards Sutton? That's it. Jerry Jeudy's been terrible, absolutely awful. Sutton's the only dude coming down with this. Mims is not getting anything down the field. They're running him more on screens than anything. So I'm like, you have one guy, which is Cortland Sutton, that's actually, getting these deep bombs and converting them. But send that second dude over there. I would be surprised if they complete a ball over 30 yards this entire game outside of Cortland Sutton. Yeah. So send that dude over the top. That's the only dude doing anything. Stop that guy. Obviously, got to stop the run, but I don't see it. I don't see the big plays here. I have Russ in fantasy in one of my Joe Burrow leagues when he got injured, and I'm going right to Stafford, bro. I ain't even thinking about Russ in this one. I think Russ and those guys are going to be in a tough spot.
I agree. I will say the one counter argument for a guy like Russ is you know this too as a fan. He's an equal opportunist. A lot of quarterbacks lock into their first read, and you can put that single high safety over them and kind of take them out the game. Russ is very evenly distributed. He will throw a deep ball to anyone on the team, right? We saw this earlier in the year with the Brandon Johnsons, even Marvin Mims having a 15% first read target share, even on the small amount of snaps he was playing. That was telling you Russ was immediately looking to a role player, rookie, even though he was running a small amount of snaps. So for me, I will say that would be the counter argument is you can't necessarily just take out Sutton, even if he is the best player, because Russ isn't the kind of quarterback that just locks in on his first read. He will distribute to anybody down the field.
But this is what I'm saying. He's got a touchdown in 7 of his last 8 games, bro. Like, who else is scoring? Like, when's the last time Jerry Jeudy caught a touchdown? Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I get your point, but he's looking to this dude at any point that ball is getting into the red zone. Right? So, I mean, I get your point, but how does he have all these touchdowns? They're not just all 50-yard bombs, right?
Well,
I mean,
that's
he's got,
fair.
3 games without a touchdown this year? 3. I mean, even in games with 3 targets, he's got a touchdown. Even in games with 4, he's got a touchdown. So I'm saying you just got to get that guy over the top. That I don't know how else they're going to score. Jeudy hasn't done anything. I'm not impressed with any tight ends. They got Troutman as their one, no Dulcich. Like, this is gross. How these guys keep winning, it's all just because Sutton's catching these touchdowns. Send that safety over there. If Jeudy does something, I mean, when's the last time he done something? It's been a while.
Yeah,
I can't even remember the game he went on.
Yeah, no, Steve Smith is laughing right now. He was right on this one so far. But I'm just saying, I can see a path to the over more in this one, just simply because I think the Lions secondary is very bad, and I think other teams during that span, I'm sure, have tried to double cover Sutton a little bit more, and I'm sure some of those teams have even been more equipped to do so with better personnel than the Lions do. So it'll be interesting. Either way, I'm super excited for this game. I will definitely be watching it.
Love it, love it. Let's take a look at the chat here, guys. 37 of you guys live in here with us. Hit that like button if you could. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's take a look here. We got Plus Money Bob Cash Pravia with 2 plus monies last show. Obviously happy to get there. I know Coop talking about Scary Terry. I said the real Scary Terry is Terry Rozier, baby. You can't call him Scary Terry no more. I said it 6 weeks ago, and I'm looking better and better every week with this man getting 0 catches in games. We got Steve out here. Cashville, we always appreciate you telling people to do so. It means a lot to the channel here for sure. Hey, you and me both, man. You and me both. I've been riding the coattails of Rashad White, Javonte Williams as my 5th and 6th round picks with running backs. Played all heavy wide receiver picks. So now it's coming to the time where we gotta make it happen here. It's playoff time. So Javonte, good luck, my friend. I'm not going to bet on you for the sheer fact that I already got so much invested in you in fantasy. I'm not even going to play any bets on Javonte, but I want him to go for 250. A couple tutties in there.
Yeah, you might have to get a little Samaje Perine hedge on the receptions because that might be what we see.
Bro, I can't stand that fucker, man. Everywhere he goes, the dude just tries to take money from me, and he continues to do so. So, Stu, you got anything else before we get into some bets? We got 40 people in here live with us. What do we got?
Yeah, I'll just say we're about to go into our bets. So if you have any questions, make sure to drop them right now. We will get through it throughout the show because, hey, a lot of guys to talk about this weekend. I've got a lot of opinions. I've got a lot of bets ready to go. It's just about waiting for numbers and all that stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to fire them off. We'll get to them.
All right, beautiful. NFL sitting right now, 47-39. Over 10 units profit so far for you guys. Let's get into it here. And we'll start out with the first game of the week.
Yep. Ivan Pace Jr. over 8.5 tackles and assists, plus 110 over on DraftKings. You might be able to get a better price on this over on ESPN. I've been finding they've had some really good pricing recently. unfortunately, the defense market is the hardest one to odds compare for in the world. Still, all these apps. I need to start spamming our Pickett guy about it because I love you guys, but we need these tackles assist comparison up. But man, I think this is just a classic example of the market being way too slow to adapting to a rising superstar right now, because not only is Ivan Pace Jr. a guy that should be in contention for Rookie of the Year this season, but he's catapulted himself to being one of the better linebackers in the league over these last couple of weeks. And this is a guy that's an undrafted free agent, very strong. I was a fan of his game in college. If anyone followed me, I used to bet on that team a lot, make a lot of money. So I was familiar with his game coming in, a little bit undersized, but man, he's been a starter all year long. You know, he earned the duty straight out of camp, but he wasn't like the main linebacker, right? He was just a bit of a role player. Then we saw Hicks go on IR, end of season, and since then, Ivan Pace has had the green dot, and he's played 100% of linebacker snaps. So he has not come off the field once since he's been given this responsibility of calling plays. Since that time, he is second in PFF coverage grade out of any linebacker in football, which means he's obviously killing it in the short passing game, which I think is going to be really important to this matchup. And then additionally, he's been all over the place in the run game. He leads all rookies in tackles so far this year. He's just been a beast. He's been a 3-down linebacker. He's been everywhere. And to me, I expected this line to be 8.5, maybe. I was kind of thinking it would be 9.5. I mean, he's gone over this in every game since the role reversed. It's not like for plus money right here, I thought it would surely be at 9.5. So the fact that we're still getting a generous price like this is just telling me that, one, this is not a market people are running to go to. But think of any rookie you've gotten excited for on offense so far this year, and think about the pattern that stems, right? Where I'm sure you bet Marvin Mims at 12.5 receiving yards, and then after a week of reports, he's at 28, 29. You don't get that value anymore. For me, the jump isn't happening here on the defensive side of the ball because not enough people are caring. But this is a guy that has been thrust into an elite workload right here. And to me, I was going to play this pretty much no matter what the matchup is, but I'm happy. We have a top 10 linebacker matchup right here against a team that is really funneled to a lot of short passing. They're protecting Browning. They want to keep him upright. They want to protect him. And this is a brutal defense. Look at the quarterbacks and look at what Flores has done to these guys. I mean, I've been the number one Flores fan all season long. I've come on here since like week 3 or 4 and said this guy should be a head coach next season. And I'm glad the national media attention is finally starting to get there, because every week, you know, you see these other guys get the accolades, but it's not here. And the personnel is not amazing. You look at this Vikings roster, you will not recognize a lot of names, but 5th in EPA per play since Pace has been in this starting linebacker position. This team is dominating bad quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a close game. He's not coming off the field. He's going to be involved in all those Joe Mixon screen passes. He's going to be there like he has been all year. Like I said, 2nd in linebacker coverage grade since taking over the green dot, not just rookies, all linebackers. This guy's a stud. This should not be plus money. I think we're getting good value here. And yeah, excited to keep betting on Ivan Pace.
Yeah, don't mind it at all. Obviously, love the plus money on the show always. Little news here. We got no CJ Stroud this week. We got no Brian Robinson this week. That means Justin Fields, bro, you're going to have to show out in a tough spot here for my best ball, because I got him always with CJ Stroud locked in together. So, obviously, first round of best ball playoffs, you know, your boy was heavily exposed to CJ Stroud. But I do have way too much Antonio Gibson. So that Brian Robinson news helps your boy out a little bit. It offsets a little bit, but I think the only one that I have with CJ Stroud, or I have multiple with CJ Stroud, I got Fields in there. I got Geno as well in a pretty good matchup there, but I'm going to be screwed in that one with Madison already being out. Stevenson might not play either. So it's like I'm all over the place on this. That really kind of messes me up. But hey, it happens. Injuries happen. Obviously, in concussion protocol, can't really get away from that. Now, officially, man, you can't start really any Texans in your first round of fantasy. So now Nico Collins getting benched, even with everything in there. Jaden Reed's going to get that start in the fantasy playoffs. I think it's about that time. So it's going to be interesting in my first game in the playoffs here. But talk about that. Let's get to my plus money spot in that same game. I'm going to go to my boy. I'm going to be going with Dak Prescott, 250 passing. Nick Mullins is getting to play here at 225. Obviously, Dak, I mean, there's not much to talk about at 250 line. They're giving me a good price on it. Check the weather. Not bad at all. Upper 40s, which no snow. That's all I care about. No snow, and the winds aren't over 30 miles an hour. I'm good, right? We're good with this in a game environment where I am perfectly content with fading this defense of the Buffalo Bills. Really like this spot for them. Obviously, going to Nick Mullins is going to be the spot that is a little bit tougher for people to kind of wrap their heads around, just because first-time quarterback, whatever, first time getting out there for a start. But, I mean, we look at some of these teams that have lit up this Cincinnati pass defense. Last week, Gardner Minshew goes over this. You go to the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence over this. You go to the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, 270 on these boys, right? You go to Lamar Jackson, who ran for a lot and still hit this number. You keep going down. C.J. Stroud absolutely torched these dudes in that huge game. Josh Allen torched them. We saw 360 from Purdy against these guys. We saw Geno go for 350 against these guys. That's the last 6 games. Every single one of them have hit it. And guess what? They don't have Justin Jefferson. They don't have TJ Hawkinson, right? There's maybe 2 teams on that list that can even compete with those types of skilled players. So you got no Madison. Ty Chandler's a better receiving back than he is in between the tackles. I want him on the outside. I think Mullins chucks this ball around, man. I think that O'Connell knows what they got to do. I'm not really super scared from this pass rush either. I think that you have to move the ball in the air, and I think Browning is able to get through on these guys a little bit as well. 40-point total. Again, I know that this is Mullins' first official start of the year, but when you got Jefferson playing officially, you got Addison out there, big plays. Hawkinson is just an absolute wagon out there. How do you not go with this? This is a low number. I'm getting a nice 20-yard discount. I understand in primetime games it's a little different. I've gotten burned too many times, and I want to buy it down. In Dak in this game environment, I can't get away from that one. Dak's hit this in every single game but 3, right? And I can point them out. You'll be like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. 42-10 to San Francisco, right? It didn't even play the last quarter. Giants, they beat 40-0. Their defense scored 2 touchdowns. Didn't even play that last time, right? And then you go to it, Carolina. Bro, they suck. They beat them by 30. He only threw the ball 25 times, didn't get there. Every other game he's gotten to this number. So sign me up for some Dak. Sign me up for some Mullins. I understand it's a little scary cooking that name, but I think that with the volume, I mean, Madison being out, I know we don't like him, but that's a lot of extra passes, in my opinion. I just don't think that they're going to be able to just try and run this ball down Cincy's throat where you can do that. I just don't think they have the personnel to do it. So sign me up for the easiest way to attack both of these teams, throw it through the air. Sign me up for some Dak and Nick Mullins, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously this one even caught me off guard as well, as I did not know what your play was before here. I mean, I know that the thing, you don't want to call something like a free square, but like Dak 250, there's so many different outs. It's one of those where you're surprised that's a playable price when you go to build these same game parlays. So obviously nothing bad to say about that. The Mullins one would be the more surprising one. But honestly, I mean, looking at his market price, it's steaming right now. It's still in the 250s in some spots in FanDuel now. It's moving upwards. And it makes a lot of logical sense. I think the biggest thing holding everyone back is the name value simply. And I think when you do that, that's when the books win. You know what I mean? So I applaud you for going past that. Because for me, I like Hawkinson this week, but I obviously love Jefferson as well.
Yeah, I know. I said the same thing. I want to bet both.
Yep. And then you go, well, obviously Ty Chandler is not a traditional rusher. He's probably going to get 3 to 4 catches. So you add that into and then you go, well, Jordan Addison is probably one of the best wide receiver 3s in the league if he's going to have that kind of coverage, right? And then you put everything together, and it does make a lot of sense for a guy like Mullins to clear. And then obviously I didn't realize the extent that backup quarterbacks like Gardner Minshew's and these other guys also cooked up this defense as well. So I admit I was even a little bit Nick Mullins.
That's good. That's always a good sign when you give me that.
That could be a telegram play. Is that a show play? I'm like, Mullins. Are we risking our? But I do see the vision. Definitely going to be tailing this one. I like the plus 107 price tag as well.
Yeah, I got plus money and like you said, not free, but how do Cowboys compete in this game with a 50 total without Dak just absolutely cooking these boys like crazy here? So we can get right on into place 3 and 4. I don't think we have any other questions. We got one question here. Talking about your team here, who do I start this week? Tua and Waddle versus the Jets, or Howell McLaurin versus the Rams? I think I'm going with your boys there. I think I would just play Waddle instead of McLaurin, though. Howell might throw the ball 50 times. I'm not playing. I would not play Tua against the Jets. I want Howell for the rushing upside a lot. I want him. Dude, he's been scoring rushing touchdowns at a crazy rate here.
Yeah, I think for me, there's no chance I'd play McLaurin over Waddle. 0% chance. Yeah, so that's what I was initially disagreeing with. I think Tua and Howell is a bit of a coin flip at times. Like, because you're right, Howell does have some upside. The thing is, we know Tua is better at converting fantasy points at the end of the day. It's just that's a terrible matchup. We know how ugly that game is going to be. So I'd go Howell and I'd go Waddle as my combination for that.
Exactly. Yeah, and mind you, Washington is in LA, bro. It's beautiful out there. They ain't got to worry about anything, right? I know it's going to be beautiful in Miami, but that Jets defense versus that Rams defense, man, I'm perfectly content. I mean, the thing about Howell is I don't give a shit if he fumbles and they return it for a touchdown. I don't give a shit if he throws a pick six. You want this dude down in the game. They will throw the ball 100 times in this game. And I think Stafford absolutely cooks these boys. So I think that they're going to get that ball back real quick. So wow, damn, you guys are good, man. You guys are good at getting us transition to our next plays. You guys are getting there. Stu, let's take away with your next spot plus money yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just going to tweet this out real quick. But I love this spot right here. Another plus money play, making that 3 of 3 plus money so far. I was shocked to see Conklin 2.5 receptions, legitimately shocked when I saw that number as an option, because as I was watching last game, I was talking to Griffey Betts. He was messaging me about Conklin. I liked it last week as well. I thought it was a good matchup, but I wanted to just see what the Zach Wilson experience was going to be like. I was just curious at the end of the day, and it was good. It was an upgrade. They looked better. To me, it really doesn't matter how good they look, though. Zach Wilson was clearly completing a lot of these underneath easier passes. And that's what you want to see from a guy that's never been able to consistently do that. And Conklin is actually locked in to be one of his favorite targets on the season, which isn't something I necessarily expected coming into the year. Conklin was not really a priority ad whatsoever. He was more of one of those kind of discount bargain, guys you get at the end of your drafts and stuff like that. But after these last couple of weeks and the kind of defense that Miami plays, I mean, it's insane that 2.5 is a number to me. I thought it would be 3.5 at minus 110, something like that. You can get 3.5 at plus 140 on ESPN right now, and then FanDuel and DraftKings don't have alt lines up. So I'll be on the lookout for those right here. But you obviously can pair the minus 160 with whatever you'd like. If Rams money line is not what makes you, happy, then you can feel free to add something you like. I think for me, just going against the Commanders has been a fairly good strategy. I know they're coming out of a bye week right here, but it's one of those situations where you can't make your team, they didn't add any new players to the team. They cut one of their corners and signed a guy from the practice squad. So if we want to call that an upgrade, maybe. But at the end of the day, they were a dumpster fire with Ron Rivera in the first week. I don't think it's going to change after. Both of us are probably going to be betting on Matthew Stafford in some capacity this week. I can guarantee I will if you follow me on Twitter. Spoiler alert, there'll be some Matthew Stafford stuff coming out, and there'll be some Puka Nacua stuff as well when we get some longest receptions and stuff. There's just no way there's no way Washington can beat the Rams is what I'm trying to tell you right now. I don't see it. I don't see a path whatsoever. McVay has a little revenge game going as well. I think that's, a fairly safe money line. But if you want to go elsewhere, that's fine. Conklin, for me, is the star right here. And when you look at it, he's already hit this against Miami 1. He already hit this with Zach Wilson coming back, right? And when you look on the season, I mean, Conklin's been really good. He is second lowest drop rate out of any tight end in the league, which is incredibly hard when your quarterbacks are the quarterbacks that you've had. I mean, Doyle, Zach Wilson, these guys aren't hitting you in your chest, and he still has the second lowest drop rate on the season. He has the second highest contested catch rate via PFF, and just put up one of the highest tight end PFF grades of the season last week as well, bringing in a couple more contested catches. So for me, it seems like the trust is there. It seems like the opportunity is there. And then you have the dream matchup, the dream team, right? On the other side in Miami, whose whole goal on defense is to take away the deep play. We want to take away your outside wide receiver number one, and we want to make you dink and dunk the ball down the field. So this game is going to be Tyler Conklin and it's going to be Breece Hall through the air. Those are the two guys you should be playing. I love, the outside wide receivers as much as anyone. I mean, not Allen Lazard, obviously. It's been a brutal season for him. I don't know. It seems like he just wants Aaron Rodgers to come back. I love Garrett Wilson, but it's not happening this week. The whole game plan is going to be to slow him down, to take away those one or two bombs, that the Wilson to Wilson bomb that we see every week, right? The whole goal is going to be to take that away. The safeties are going to be back. We're going to keep everything underneath, and it's going to be a lot of simple, high conversion rate passes. 2.5 should not be a number, in my opinion. Love that we're getting this at plus money right here.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I got to ruin it, man. I got to go to a non-plus money spot, unfortunately. But that just shows how much I like this matchup. I'm going Rachaad White, bro. I got to do it. I know it's my Packers. I love them. I love them to death, but man, they're going to get torched. They just can't stop the run. It's Joe Barry's been one of the worst DVOA rushing guys since he's been at the Packers. They've just been terrible. They can't stop it. And also, why wouldn't you want to run the ball when you got Rashawn Gary playing the way he is? When you have all these dudes, they're blitzing a ton in these last couple games, trying to get pressure on these guys because they haven't been able to get it before. So I really like Rachaad White this week. I like too much. So first off, let's just talk about the unbelievable workload this man has just since week 11. I'll just go back to week 11 through 14. 81% of the opportunities at the running back position, which is pretty crazy. Really only fighting with Chase Edmonds, which I thought they were going to bring in Tucker. I know Tucker was a darling of everybody talking about it before the year. Oh, Rachaad White sucks. Get this guy. He's really inefficient. Well, dude, doesn't matter, man. This boy is getting as much opportunity as anybody, right? 20 carries 2 weeks ago against Carolina, 25 last week, 15 for 100 on just rushing against Indianapolis. And in my opinion, maybe the Carolina Panthers are a little worse, but the Packers are worse than the Falcons in terms of rush defense for sure. Indy, they're probably similar, but that's not even counting his receiving upside, right? I mean, the receiving, he's got at least 20 yards in every single game but one going back to that Atlanta game. So all I need is 80 out of him there. Kind of gets me there in my brain building it, building how he's going to get there, right? But also, let's take a look at these Packers and who they've given up to in the rushing game. Right, you go to the last game. Obviously, we talked about Saquon there. Got there at the end, but also Baker's a little bit more competent than Tommy DeVito. You're gonna have to respect it a little bit more. Mike Evans is scarier than any of the other guys there. Cade Otton's looked really good, so you're gonna have to, respect that a little bit. But you got that. You got Isaiah Pacheco going for over 100 on him, right, in the game before that. The Lions always cook them there. I don't even count Austin Eckler as a starting running back anymore. The boy's freaking just getting switched out every single time. Kyren Williams didn't play against them in their game with the Rams. But my biggest concern was the Steelers game, right? The Steelers game was what was concerning to me is because Kenny Pickett is not scaring anybody, right? You're not scared of Kenny Pickett. You should sell out to stop the run. Jaylen Warren for 100, Najee Harris for 90 in that game, right? That is very concerning because you knew what was coming and you still couldn't stop. I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line is anything great. But you just saw two guys get almost split carries and both get there. What are you going to do when this guy gets 85% of the rushing attempts, right? I think White touches the ball 25 plus times. I think he gets a touchdown here. I think that he is going to go absolutely berserk on these dudes. And also, he's averaging 4 or 5 targets a game over these last 4 weeks. Packers can't stop that either. So it's like, this is just signing me up here. I'm all in on Rachaad White this week. I think that he absolutely shows out.
Yeah, White's one of those guys too. I mean, how many running backs can you say have had multiple 40-yard receiving games, that have had a 60-yard receiving game? You know what I mean? The list is really not that long. So having that unique ability to get you there not only through the rushing game but through the receiving game. And like you said, he's the highest volume running back in football. Who knew the bell cow conversation would be CMC and Rachaad White coming to the year? It's kind of insane. But at the end of the day, Todd Bowles, I've said it many times, he's really dumb. If they're down 14-0, it doesn't matter. They're running on first down when they come out, and then they're checking it down to Rachaad White 3 more times after that. So it's one of those things where they're a very predictable offense. They run the ball a lot. It doesn't matter how efficient Rachaad White's been, because if you look at it, he's been shit a lot of the season, and they still stuck with him. And now he's finally having some of his best weeks of the year. The touches are piling up. You know, if you think they keep this game close, which I do, I don't think the Packers pull away or anything like that, then I like it. My only concern would be I do like the Packers in this game. Yep. I think they do pull away a little bit. It's just kind of like, how much can you get there in the rushing game versus the receiving game? I like that you have multiple options here.
Yeah, funny. Looking at the usage over the last 3 weeks, Christian McCaffrey, 81.6% of the opportunities for the San Francisco 49ers. Rachaad White, 80.9. That is workload right there, man. And obviously, Kyren Williams is up there, but I don't know. I kind of, if I had to take one, which, I mean, both of them are top 5 backs this week, I would assume, I think I'd take White. I think White's got, I think I would take White in a heartbeat. I think Washington absolutely is going to try and obviously stop the run a little bit there, because Kyren Williams is running the ball 28 times a game. And they're just going to give up bombs like they usually do. So I love Rachaad White this week. And it sucks to do it against my Packers, but sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's tough betting against your own team, but hey, we've both done it multiple times this season to a lot of success. I think we have some more success today.
Love it. Love it. Stu, let's get a quick recap going here, and then we'll get it rolling.
Sounds good. We got plus money play number 1, Tyler Conklin, over 2.5 receptions, Rams money line plus 120. Then we're going over rookie sensation up and comer. We got Ivan Pace Jr. over 8.5 tackles plus assist at plus 110.
Beautiful. And I'll be on Nick Mullins 225 with Dak at 250. Rolling back there with Rachaad White over 100.5 rushing plus receiving yards, minus 114. All right, Stu, you got a long shot for me. I know we didn't talk before the show about it, but you got anything here for us for Week 15?
I absolutely do, 100%. And honestly, I already hinted a little bit with Conklin. I already talked about this guy earlier in the week. I think it's the week of the tight end. I know it was already officially, the tight end week or whatever that was. I think this is the unofficial version. So for me, we're going with a 2-leg touchdown parlay right here. And we're going TJ Hawkinson and we're going Jake Ferguson as my 2 guys. And I already obviously talked a little bit earlier about Hawkinson earlier in the week. If you watch any of my previous shows so far, I've obviously been very high on Hawkinson. I like Jefferson coming back as well. But to be honest, that 220 line to me feels a little bit disrespectful that we're seeing over on FanDuel right now. And then I'm pulling up the Ferguson as well right now. We got, let's see. All right, we got plus 812 for Ferguson and Hawkinson over on FanDuel to both record a touchdown. If you watch the show all year, you know we're big Ferguson fans. Even though, he's had a couple a little bit down weeks and you spelled his name wrong, I still think he's going to overcome that and he's going to catch the touchdown right here. when we look at it. Ferguson has been a dominant red zone weapon. He leads all tight ends and targets inside the 5-yard line. We've talked about it a lot this year. They switched to a top 5 pass rate over expectation team since their bye week. They're slinging the rock. And when we look at the Bills' weakness, they've actually had some solid backup linebacker play come in and step up. But at the end of the day, they're still the most susceptible over the middle of the field. That's where I think they get beat up the most. And I think Ferguson's going to take advantage of that in the red zone. Pollard has not been a red zone monster this year, so they're throwing a lot more. CD will have his chances, but at the end of the day, you got to pay minus 160 for CD. And we're still week after week getting Ferguson at this plus 190, plus 200 range. For me, that's enough value. So love both tight ends. I already talked about Conklin. I did play Conklin's touchdown separate at 500. If you want to play the mega touchdown parlay, then you can obviously throw in a Sam Laporta, number 1. You can throw in a Conklin, and you can go all out. But for me, a little bit safer right here, plus 812. Loving both of these tight ends to get the job done. And I did ladder their receptions separately as well because I'm in on these guys.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Let me pull mine up here. Gotta get my alt stuff going. Gotta get to my alt lines. So let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to go. I'll throw a touchdown prop in there as well. Oh man, I don't know. Let me pull this up because it's not high enough. I need to get higher. I can't be that low on these. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my boy Dak Prescott here. And then I'm also gonna go with the guy we just talked about there in Rachaad White. So I'm gonna go Rachaad White, anytime touchdown, and I'm gonna go Dak to throw 3 touchdowns in this game this week. And that's going to get me to plus 554. They're giving me I think I'm going to take that Dak one straight.
I was going to say, what's that line?
It's for plus 250, 235, which I was really surprised to see that as its own separate one. 235, I feel like it's pretty crazy when you look at the Dallas Cowboy team total there. I mean, we talked about it how many times about Pollard's inability to score touchdowns. And you have all of these dudes who are pretty good in the red zone, right? And CD gets separation on anybody. And you got Ferguson in there, like you just talked about. But also, we've seen Gallup and Cooks over these last couple of weeks get those deep plays that result in touchdowns, right? McCarthy's one of those weird dudes that on the 2-yard line, he will pass it. He tried it last week to Ferguson on the 2-yard line.
Yep.
They ran it. The first down and goal, play action, toss to Ferguson. Then they ran it in, obviously, but they gave him a chance, right? Yep. That's what I'm saying. They're pushing Dak to be this MVP, which personally, in my opinion, probably is. If I had to take it, I would probably bet on him. But they're going to push it now. You know what I mean? This is a game where everybody's going to be watching the primetime game, and you have an opportunity to put Dak in there against Josh Allen, against this defense that's just horrendous. I bet you even if they're winning, they're going to try to throw him in there. That's what I'm saying. Sign me up for Dak. And I really like Rachaad White this week. Minus 105 is a little bit shitty for a price, but I feel like there's worse options in the red zone.
I was gonna say, for me, if you ask me to name a price, I'm giving you minus 135. If you want me to book it, I'm giving you minus 150. I don't want the Rachaad White touchdown action if I'm a book. So I would not be mad at 100. For me, though, that Dak 3 touchdowns is a good number right there. Honestly, a really good base. Once again, my plus 170, plus 180 would be probably more the range I would be at. And to be honest, even like what you said earlier, 1.5 being playable. 1.5 has been minus 200 these last couple of weeks. So I'm not really seeing what's causing that. I think there's going to be plenty of passing potential here in the red zone. Like you mentioned it, you brought up some PTSD. I hit Ferguson live touchdown again because I always bet Ferguson touchdown, but I even doubled up live. And you're right, he had that instant target that just got broken up. So I completely agree. We're obviously correlated here. I like Ferguson. You like Dak. if anyone is curious how I personally would be playing this, since I am now going to have a decent amount of exposure, I'll also be going for a quarter unit on Rico Dowdle to score a touchdown at plus 410. That gives you a little bit of hedge exposure because we've seen Dowdle not only used in the rushing game as the substitute for Pollard, we've also seen him have a receiving touchdown. So it's a hedge, but you can also benefit both ways. So I'm going to have some exposure on the Cowboys scoring this week. Definitely like that we're on the same page here.
Yeah, and give me plus 235 odds on FanDuel for a play that's hit in 5 of his last 7 games. Seems kind of weird, right? That just seems a little bit off, and this might be one of the best matchups of all of them, right? So obviously last week they got ahead and didn't even really need to use them in the end. Still only had 2 touchdowns there, but I do like the pot pass option, the ones that you throw it 1 foot in front of you, having that with CD coming across. And obviously like being able to score from outside and inside the 10, outside of the red zone and inside the 5. They'll find a way to still do it. So sign me up a little bit there. I do like me some Dak Prescott this week. Hopefully he continues his MVP push.
No, I agree, man. I don't have that much money on it. I'd still prefer Brock Purdy, but hey, if he can make us some money along the way, that would be even better right here. Love these combos. Long shots have been pretty good recently, so I'm feeling good. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, I just had Isaiah Spiller go for 50 yards last night at plus 1,700. I couldn't believe they were giving us those alt lines. Normally on a backup, they never do that. But shout out to DraftKings, shout out to Bet365. They both put those lines out, and we got to hammer in last night. So got a little bit of extra money in the pocket. Maybe that quarter unit somehow turns to a half unit this weekend. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good, though. So ready to cash some tickets right here.
Love it, man. Love it. So, oh, no, for sure. You already know, Coop. You already know. You've been here long enough. You know that we're trying to get Rashad White and some bets. Stu, what do you got for the people? We got 40 people with us 55 minutes in. What do you got for them before we head out today?
Yeah, obviously there's going to be more. Like I said, already for myself, have Montgomery and Gibbs props out that I posted on Wednesday. I will have plenty more action today. Both of us, I know, like the Jaden Reeds of the world. We're waiting on some lines. I like Matthew Stafford. Plenty of names to still target. So if you want to be, kept up with all that, make sure you're following over on Twitter. Turn those notifications on. Go join the Discord. It's free. A lot of people in the chat are in the Discord, and we got some absolute killers in there. So there's a lot of good information every single day. Even when I'm not picking up the slack in the NBA, we got guys absolutely killing it and doing the hard work for me, which is always nice. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I think we had some killer analysis today. If you normally just tune in for the very end for the quick recap, I suggest you watch the whole thing today. I think we had some good props, some good analysis, some good arguments in there as well. So ready to cash some tickets, and hopefully we have another sweep again on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. Not much college basketball today, so I don't have a YouTube play of the day, unfortunately, but we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button. Like I said, it means a lot to us. And hopefully we'll continue to keep growing and getting some more winners out there for you. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck this weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to cash a couple winners for you. So have a good one.